If you're interested in a clean and slim front bumper for your 2016 through 2023 Toyota Tacoma, this RedRock TCX HD Front Bumper is one you should be checking out. Now this is a stylish yet minimal front bumper that has that aggressive pre-runner style look, doing a great job at enhancing any oversized tires that you may have mounted up and adding some extra clearance for the front end, which is perfect if you're taking your truck on the dirt and want more room to work with. Now this kit also includes lighting if you know you want to upgrade to some off-road style LEDs compared to swapping over the factory fogs for an all-new look and function for the front end of your Tacoma. Now this is also a full replacement to your current front bumper, requiring very little modification compared to other compact or slim style choices, all while being a budget-friendly option for a front bumper. Now this stands apart from a lot of other choices, especially with the compact design that this has. Now it's super slim in the middle. It includes chunkier angled up ends for improved clearance. It has filler plates for the top underneath the headlights, and the cut of this front bumper follows the lower grille lines perfectly for a well-fitted appearance. Now the look of this is enhanced further with the honeycomb mesh plating on the outer wings surrounding the fog light mounting points. This is made of a plastic material, so you can pop this out and customize it if you'd like, and this large plate right in the center, which adds a really bold look. Now the lighting included is also a huge aspect of this setup, both being 3 inches in size, featuring multiple incredibly bright 5-watt Cree LEDs, and they also have a 6000K color temperature for a clear white color, improving your truck's front end visibility compared to your OE fogs and adding a more modern look. Now this is made of a heavy-duty steel plate and tube construction, so while it is shaped to avoid obstacles, it won't falter if you do come in contact with them, protecting the lower front end of the truck very well. Now on top, the bumper is coated in a textured black powder coat finish, protecting the steel from rusting over time and allowing this to go very well with other HD accessories. And the textured powder coat finish is very fine, so it adds more of that premium look. Now the lighting included is also tough with an aluminum housing and a fin back for solid heat dissipation, a black powder coat on top to avoid any corrosion on there as well, and on the front it has a tough impact resistant polycarbonate lens, and the lights themselves have an IP67 dust and waterproof rating, so they're perfect for the location that they're mounted on, being tough, so you're not going to have to worry about them. I do want to mention that this does require some modification to the fenders in order for this to fit, but otherwise this comes with all of the brackets and hardware needed for a mostly bolt-on installation and all of the wiring for a plug-and-play install when it comes to the lights. Now this is about $650, which makes this one of the most affordable choices in the category for a front bumper. Now this option again stands out in the compact sizing of this bumper, the included LED fog lights, and the overall minimalistic style as far as the build is concerned, not being an option that's too bulky or over the top with a larger utilitarian style setup if that's not what you're looking for. Now this is also a front bumper that doesn't require a lot of modification to the front bumper in order to mount up, especially for a slim style choice. So if that's something that you're particularly looking for, in addition to the lighting and of course a more budget-friendly price point, then this is going to be a great setup for you. Now install is a 1 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter, and it should only take about 2 hours or so in order to install this and get the lights wired up. However, at this point, I'm going to hand it over to one of our installers, and they're going to show you a detailed breakdown on how you can bolt this up to your Tacoma at home. So that wraps it up for me. Let's go ahead and get into the install.
For this install, you will need a ratchet, various impacts, an extension, 10, 12, 14, and 16 millimeter sockets, 4 and 5 millimeter Allen sockets, 13 and 16 millimeter wrenches, 17 and 18 millimeter wrenches, 10, 17 and 18 millimeter ratcheting wrenches, the provided Allen wrench, and a clip removal tool, and also not shown here is an extra set of hands and a razor knife. What's up guys, today we're going to be doing a bumper on our Tacoma, but before we get started we're going to send you to watch a quick video on how to remove your factory setup, and we'll see you when you get back.
So the first step to our install is to take off our grill. You're going to need a 10 millimeter socket for this, and you're also going to need a trim removal tool. So we're going to take out the bolts first. There are 2 up at the top. I'm going to use that 10 millimeter socket to remove those. And then we can remove the clips on either side. So over on this side, on either side of the grill, we're going to just have a pop clip What I'm gonna do is just take the trim removal tool and pop that out of place. And we can do the same thing for the other side. So at this point, now that the hardware is out of our grill, we can just go ahead and remove it by pulling forward. And then what we can do next is start to disassemble our bumper. Our next step is to take off our lower splash shield. Now on either side, there's gonna be 2 bolts behind the splash shield. I'm gonna be removing those with a 10mm socket, and then the remaining bolts are gonna be on the front side of the splash shield. This may be a little bit difficult to see. However, I'm gonna use a 10mm socket and a small extension just to give myself some room to work with. So before you remove the front bolts, I would just repeat that process with the bolts that are behind the splash shield on the other side, and then we can take that same 10mm socket and remove the bolts on the front. So once all the bolts are removed, we can remove the lower splash shield. So our next step is to remove the first 2 bolts on the inside of our wheel well here. We're missing one down at the bottom here, as you can see, but we still need to remove this one up at the top. This is gonna allow us to pull our fender back so we can unclip our bumper on either side. So I'm gonna take a 10mm socket and remove this bolt up at the top. You should also use a 10mm socket for this one down at the bottom. Once that's removed, what we can do is start to peel the fender away from the bumper. It's gonna be held in by clips as well as adhesive. Now, if you are taking this off for the first time, it may be a little bit more difficult just to pull the fender away with the adhesive being there, but you can take a soft pry tool and you can just pry away from the bumper. If you need to, what you can do is just use that pry tool to unclip the bumper. As you can see, it's disconnected there. So then we can repeat that on the other side, and then we can unclip the middle part of our bumper. So now that we disconnected our fender, there's a little bit of hardware underneath that's connecting our front bumper cover to the crash bar as well as to our wheel well. Now there's a pop clip in the corner that we're going to disconnect using a trim removal tool. Next, we can remove that bolt that's holding the bumper cover to our crash bar with that same 10mm socket that we used before. Then we can repeat that on the other side and then unclip our bumper at the front. So before we remove the clips that are holding on the front of our bumper, we do need to disconnect this wiring harness here. We just have to press down on that tab and pull back. Just want to make sure that we're protecting all of our wiring harnesses before we pull the bumper away from the truck itself. Then we can grab a trim removal tool and start removing our clips. So next I'm going to take that trim removal tool, just like the one that we used on our grill, and we're just going to take off these clips that are holding on the front of our bumper cover. So now that all of our clips are fully removed at the front, what we can do is remove our front bumper cover. So our next step is to take off our crash bar here. We're gonna have 3 studs, and we're gonna take that hardware off with a 14mm socket. I'm also using my electric ratchet. Then we can take off the 3 on the other side and then pull off our crash bar. So we can remove our crash bar. Now mine's giving me a little bit of an issue just because it's been on for a long time. I'm gonna take a dead blow and just tap it off.
All right, so our next step is going to be to wire in our switch and harness for our fog lights on our new bumper. And the first thing we're going to do is send our switch through the engine bay, through the firewall into the cab so we can mount that where it's accessible. The easiest way to do this is to come right next to your brake booster. There is a large grommet for a harness that's going through the firewall. You can just kind of push that out of the way enough to get your switch through, so that's what we're going to do now. So we've got our switch, we're going to come down to this grommet. Now it is going to be a bit tight. Just want to pull that back, kind of push it down. And once you get that switch passed through, you want to push as much of the wire through as possible. Enough to be able to grab it pretty easily once we get in the cab. So now that we've got this through, we'll go into the cab and get our switch mounted. So now we're in our cab underneath our dash, and you want to come right up next to your kick panel. We're going to find that switch, we're going to pull that through. Now this switch uses an adhesive backing, so you can kind of mount it wherever you'd like. For demonstration purposes, we're going to keep it nice and easy and mount it right down here by our hood release. Stick that on, tuck that wire back up under there. Now we can continue to mount the rest of our harness. Next, we can hook up our positive and negative terminals for our harness to our battery and our ground strap. First thing we're going to do for that is come to the inline fuse on our positive side. And take that cover off and remove that fuse for now. It's going to keep the circuit dead until we get everything in place. We'll just set this up here. We're going to hook our positive wire up first to our positive terminal on our battery. So we'll take our 12mm socket, remove this nut. Make sure you don't drop that. Positive terminal on. And we'll reinstall that nut. Tighten that back down. Now for our negative wire, so we don't have to mount it to our pinch nut, we're going to mount it to this ground strap off to the side. So we'll take our 10mm socket and remove this bolt. Keep that lined up. Take our negative terminal, get that onto our bolt. And we'll set that right back in place. Tighten that back down. Now we're going to run our 2 connectors and wires down below our grill for our fog lights. There's a good spot to run it through, right at the rad support where your AC line comes through. Nice and open. Bring that through, we'll feed that down. Tuck the rest of our harness out of the way. Now for the harness, you can feel free to tuck this and clean it up however you'd like. You can use zip ties or whatever you have on hand or what you want to use at home. You really have the freedom to do whatever, as long as you keep it out of the way of any hot or moving parts in your engine bay. Now we've got our bumper up on our table because there's a couple things we need to do to it before we can install it on the vehicle. The first of which is to fold our wings out. Now these are held in place for shipping very loosely by bolts and nuts up here. You can just remove those by hand. Once you remove that bolt and nut, fold your wing out. Then we'll do the same thing for this side. Now once you fold your wings out, you're going to find your mounting points down inside your bumper. There's going to be 2 threaded holes. We're going to grab our provided 16mm bolts with lock washers and flat washers and get those loosely in place. Get that first one started. I want to run that down about hand tight. I'll get this other one in. Now this one is a little bit tricky because it's right next to the main mounting bracket. Sometimes you have to move it around a little bit. And once we get these 2 started, we'll do the same thing for the other side. Now that we have our bolts in hand tight, we're going to tighten those 2 down, and then we're going to come up and tighten our pivot bolts as well. Now this one you can get to with a 16mm socket and extension. This one, however, is pretty angled against the main bracket, so you will need a 16mm ratcheting wrench. And once we have those tight, we're going to tighten down our pivot bolts with our 17mm wrench and 17mm ratcheting wrench. We'll do the same thing for our other bolt. And we'll do the same thing for the other side. So next we're going to get our fog lights mounted to our bumper. The first thing we need to do is install our provided bracket onto our light, and then we'll go onto the bumper. So we're going to set our bracket in like so, because it mounts on the bottom like this. Then we're going to grab our provided nuts. They're going to drop into the slots. Then we're going to take our provided Allen bolts and get those through and get this hand tight for now. So we've got our mounting bracket in. We're going to drop our nut into that slot. Don't worry if it doesn't come straight right away. You can use your bolt to get it in position. We'll line that up. We'll grab our provided Allen wrench to get this started. The slot is going to keep the nut from turning. And we're not going to fully tighten this just yet. We'll do the same thing for this side. Now that we have those snug, we're going to take our provided bolt, run that through the back side of our bracket like so, and we'll line this up with the bracket on our bumper. Now we'll get this in position, put that bolt through. On the back side of that, you want to install your lock washer. Run that up hand tight. And we'll loosely situate our fog light. We'll get that hand tight. Now once we've got our light situated and centered in our opening, we're going to grab our 13mm ratchet wrench and tighten this main nut down. And we'll bring back our provided Allen wrench, fully tighten our bracket bolts. And once you have this tight, you can repeat the same process for the other side. Next, we're going to install our upper trim filler panels. So they're going to go on the top side of the bumper and line up with our 3 mounting holes. And these have welded nuts on them. So we're going to use our provided 4mm Allen bolts with lock washers and flat washers to get these in place. Get our center one lined up, get that bolt started. We'll get our other 2 in. And once we've got these loosely in place, we'll line up our panel, grab our 4mm Allen socket on our ratchet and tighten these down. Do the outsides first. And once you have this side on, you can do the same thing for the other side. Next, we're going to install our bumper mounting brackets to our studs that our factory crash bar came off of. So we're going to line up 3 mounting holes. You want this to come out and up. So we'll get this in line and reinstall our factory 14mm nuts. So we'll get this in place. Get our nuts loosely installed. We don't want these to be tight just yet in case we need to adjust. Then we'll do the same thing for the other side, and our bumper is going to mount with these 3 holes through here on each side. All right, so now I've got a buddy to help me lift the bumper in place, so we're going to line the mounting bracket of our bumper up with our main brackets here and grab our provided 16mm bolts and get those through and get it squared away. So now that we've got our bumper on, we're going to tighten down our 14mm nuts for our main bracket with our 14mm socket. And once you've got this side tight, you can do the same thing for the other side, and we'll come back and tighten down our mounting bolts. Now we're going to come in and tighten down our 3 16mm bolts and nuts with our 16mm wrench and our 16mm socket. And you can do the same thing for the other side. Now we're going to come in and plug in our fog lights. So we've got our connector for our passenger side. We're going to bring that over our main bracket, plug that into our connector, make sure that snaps into place. And we'll do the same thing for the other side. So now we've got our skid plate up on the table because we're going to need to mount our license plate bracket to it first. So what we're going to do is grab our 2 provided Allen bolts. We'll get one through. We're going to line that up with the 2 mounting holes in the center. Get this positioned. And on the back side of that, we're going to grab another flat washer and our provided lock nut. First one on, that's going to hold this for us. We'll get our other one in position. Do the same thing for that. And tighten these down. We're going to grab our provided Allen wrench. This is a little bit awkward to hold this. We're going to grab our 10mm socket. Tighten this down. And we'll do the same thing for this side. Now we're going to mount our skid plate. We're going to start with the 4 mounting tabs on our bumper. These have threaded inserts in them. We're going to take our 5mm Allen head bolts and get these in place. Get the first one in. Once you get the first 2 in, it should be pretty secure. We can get our other 2 in place. You may have to move it around a little bit to get these to line up. And you want to get the last one in as well. Now that we've got these hand tight, we'll get our 2 bolts in the back side. So these last 2 bolts are going to be your very long 16mm. They're going to go through the mounting tab on your skid plate, through the large hole in the frame, all the way through the hole in the back. And on the back side of that, you're going to add in a flat washer and a lock nut. And you want to do the same thing on the other side. Now we'll grab our 5mm Allen socket and tighten up our 4 front bolts. Then we'll come back and tighten down our 2 rear bolts. So now we're going to tighten down our bolts using our 18mm ratchet wrench and 18mm wrench. And once you have this side tight, you can do the same thing for the other side. Now that we have everything installed, we're going to reinstall that fuse into our harness. Just pop that back into place and reinstall our cover. Now, one thing you will need to do at home is cut down your factory fender flares to allow this bumper to fit. We have a pre-cut set that we have on ours for demonstration purposes. You definitely want to do that at home if you want to grab a box cutter or a razor knife of something like that. And a little tip, if you heat up the blade, it cuts through this plastic really well and doesn't leave a lot of frays or burrs or anything like that. So you definitely want to do that for both of your fender flares. Alrighty folks, that about wraps up our review and install of our RedRock TCX HD Front Bumper for your 16 to 23 Tacoma. Thanks for watching, and as always, for everything Tacoma, keep it right here at ExtremeTerrain.com.